Have you ever found yourself playing around that Primordial opener but not exactly in a spot to reroll, or just do not get those bows for the Belvet items, or around some form of a talent opener that does not seem to lead anywhere? Then this 4 Brawler 4 Marauder comp might just be you, playing very similarly to the Slayer Belvet board from the last set. My name is Boris, and before today's board review, let's quickly take a look at the comp. As mentioned, we are ideally playing from a tempo spot, however around a loss streak is fine if you are able to spike already on stage 3, securing some of those rounds there, and then spiking very hard on stage 4 in order to secure your placements and play for the top 4, and if the lobby turns out to be a little bit weaker, you could even be playing for the top 2. We are generally going to be playing around the Master Yi primary carry and our Fiora as our cap, slot in an Akali until you get there. Once we make it on level 9, we are able to slot in many of these 5 cost Rasu, just a generic in if you're unable to find them. And if our psionic item happens to be bad, we can be playing around a Blitzcrank and a new pair as well. Regarding the psionic items, we are ideally looking for Malware Matrix or Target Lot, but Biomatter can also be quite fine as a sorting out for your tank item. Regarding tank items, you generally will be having Tom Kench holding your utility through Sunfire and Even Shroud, and then the last slot can be that Biomatter Preserver or any form of a HP or durability item. Master Yi definitely wants to have that Edge of Night as that's his best survivability item. Otherwise, QSSS and Hodge and Strikers combo is nice. GS is also quite fine for him. Kindred is going to be fine holding your attack speed items, but you can also be itemizing any form of other melee items and slotting them later on to Fiora. Regarding augments, we are generally looking to be picking up any form of a tempo augments from items. The items are better tempo in early game, or scaling combat augments that can further empower your team. Shoutout can also go to Infinity Protection, as we can simply move the Surgot in the front row and gain quite a lot of value from that. Even Belvet can be sacked in the front row, so we are getting a lot of shield on our team and attack speed from all of them. Your game plan is to be positioning on the weak side and trying to mow down your opponents, or trying to win through a wrap. If you are meticulous with your positioning, you can try to identify positions where this Master Yi and Fiora duo is able to wrap on their backline carries and take them out. Good emblems to be playing into this comp is possibility of playing around Brawler, putting that on Yi for those on-hit effects, and then capping around for Brawler, or just removing this Urgot and playing for Akali to get that crit on your team if you do not have a Jeweled Lotus. Rogue emblem is going to be functioning as a stronger even Edge of Night on that Master Yi, and that opens you to be playing around another 4-cost in form of a Riven. Bastion emblem is nice to provide that attack speed, as Yi Master Yi loves that, and plays nicely into your best level 9 cap, which is Shen. Marauder emblem enables you to be playing around 6 Marauder, which is quite strong, and the Nova emblem is nice for that true damage, but you can also be playing that into standard form of a Nova board. For the gods, Kale is nice for that item tempo, Yasuo to further empower your units, or from those tempo spots Evelyn can be quite strong, and the extra durability on your team is going to be quite neat in the late game. As usual, this cheat sheet is going to be available in link down below, and in case you did not notice in the last video, I've also published a full meta read sheet that I'm going to be updating constantly, and it contains all these cheat sheets in a single unified place. And now, let's jump in game with a pro. For our board review, we are going to be jumping in game with Snoobydoo, who won a Tactician's Cup in set 14 and consequently played in the pro circuit on the EU side in set 15. Very good and high elo challenger player on EU West. And as we can see, we have some notable names that we can also see in the lobby already. Starting out with the Victor, and we know that our Psionic is going to be Biomatter Preserver. It's also a decent option to be playing into this comp from the Biomatter Preserver, just sorting out another tank item for yourself. And our gods are going to be Kale and Neko, both can provide those extra items for this comp. We are starting out with an Infinity Edge. Now, my mind obviously leans towards that Urgot comp whenever I see Infinity Edge, just because I'm so hyped. But we're going to be opting to make 10 here and potentially play for some kind of loss streak position. Going to be holding onto the Primordial unit and put that prior, and hopefully if we did not get the gold, we would have wanted to have another gold in order to be picking up that Rek'Sai. Now our spot is, we have some form of Edge of Night or Infinity Edge, most likely as a Slam Steadfast, not exactly the slams we will be making right away. Sometimes you have to, but it's generally something that you wouldn't be synergizing with other tank items. For our augment selections right now, Makeshift Armor, we are playing from a loss streak, so we're ideally looking for some form of an Econ augment at this point. Makeshift Armor is obviously not going to be exactly that. Spirited Redemption is again the item augment that you would be wanting to take from a tempo spot. Bodyguard training seems to be the default option we have to go for, but we are not too excited exactly to be taking it since this augment has been nerfed so many times. Blood Offering. Generally these melee comps right now prefer Hand of Justice over Bloodthirster, and again you want to be taking this from a tempo spot. Hustler is an interesting choice, I'm not exactly sure, but this is Nikon augment. However, it's probably the weakest Nikon augment in the current meta right now, so we're having to go with the Bodyguard training. Not super excited, but at least this has some back-ended value that we can be playing for. We're going to be lost streaking here. Ideally we are able to find some time breakers in order to be slotting in to try to make a board and then maybe spike on stage 3 to start securing some of that HP. This goes a little bit against what I said, playing for that tempo spot. But if we're able to find early 3 Primordium, we still have the potential to print our upgrades, and hopefully we're able to stabilize our board and secure a top 4 from there. Queuing into the standard Shepherd Zoe, they're going to be a very strong mid-game board that they're able to slap in together since that they have that Tilawi. Opted to even go full open here just to make 20. So I'm wondering what is he thinking exactly at this point. We have not exactly planned any team comp. We are scouting around, trying to see what there's open. We can see quite a few spatulas. We can see that there seems to be potentially a Primordian player there since they have that Kraken Slam. Now with Prowler's Claw, again, right now, I would be thinking of Urgot, as that guy is absolutely insane with that artifact. But it seems that the Primordian reroll line is also out as... We are currently without exactly a home. We could potentially be considering mech from these components. We have a half of Gargoyles, half of Sterak's Gauge, but you would be wanting to have that anima cash out. What really enables mech right now in the meta is by having that anima cash out, getting that tank item for your mighty mech, and then being very stable to on your stage 4, early stage 5. Going to buy out a shop, and we're able to... This player has an anima emblem, so they do have 3 anima in, but are at 0 stacks. We don't even give them by any form of a killing units. So we're going to be getting a component anvils, and that by that point, if we are hoping to pop them, we'll have to make our choice right now. Going up on our god selection right here, since we are playing for a lost streak, artifact item can be a decent option that we are considering, since we do not want that power at the moment. However, Kale with the Hand of Justice option and another glove that we can utilize quite well, and the tier is very flexible component, could provide us with a potential to be spiking our board on stage 3. So this is where we have to evaluate. Are we able to string together a decent enough of a board to start securing our HP? Artifact item perhaps would be more leaning into that mech comp through that rod. He is going to be going for it, and just going to be debating picking up, it seems like, just a Lulu for that econ. So we are going with the late value, and we're going to picking up a rod. So this is going to be an interesting spot. Perhaps in his mind he is considering still playing for that mighty mech through these choices. But we have not found any other anima units apart from this Aurora right now. From a full loss streak, we are fine to be slotting in that anima on 3-1, and some players as such opt to simply be rolling for that anima. However, that can become quite an investment at points, and you might simply not have enough gold to be sending on for one for your board. Going to be interesting to see how he ends up into this comp from this kind of a spot. I would assume, yeah, we're just going to be selling off our board here and going for that 5 loss streak. See that there's also a 2 tanky Samira players who's going to be probably punishing us quite hard. Why am I referencing constantly to spiking your board on stage 3 is a possibility? If we simply just take note, stage 3 base damage is 6 damage plus 1 damage for every unit alive, so you're in general going to be taking about 9 to 10 damage per loss, so those losses accumulate quite a lot. And sometimes in these kind of loss streak spots, yes, we are fine to be 5 lossing on the stage 2, but if we are able to spike our board on stage 3, this is where we can gain a lot of placements and prevent some of the other players from capping quite high. And since we have opted to not hold on any units and simply make our recon very hard, make our recon very strongly, we are not going to be having that potential to be spiking our board exactly from there. Now we do get double Velvet, but going to be slamming that's a little bit too late for the Primordial, and now we seem to be rolling here as we're 1 anima unit away, and we find an early Kench. That's going to be nice to sort our recon, but we are quite low on gold here. Now the Bodyguard training here on level 6 is going to be quite strong, providing that extra durability for the extra resistances, and as such HP on our team, but we do not exactly have committed any slams just yet. We have not opted to pop our anvils and did not find that anima. So I'd assume that his game plan at this point was to be playing for that mighty mech. But since we had to roll so deep, are we going to be having sufficient amounts of gold? And we pick up a win here, so our streak is broken even through that. And now we are probably looking for some form of a bailout. Spreading Roots could definitely be that for ourselves. Exiles has fallen a little bit of favor, especially if you're playing around these shed caps. It's hard to position your boards, and against melees you are a potential for a portable forge. Would be quite of a gamble to be taking into this spot, but since we have to hold on to these anvils, we could potentially be looking for, again, Virgo 3-roll. That is going in my mind constantly at this point. Heroic grab bag playing into this form of a reroll, but we do not have that Victor item, so and the drone, and we do not have exactly the items for Victor. And the Scrimnet Killer would be decent if you're pushing tempo, but we are looking for a bailout. We are finding the Spreading Roots, and we find a Nunu pair. That's an interesting choice. And now we find a Psionic and Marauder emblem, so I assume this is how we are going to be somehow enabling, finding ourselves into this comp. We know that there's biomatter, so we could be slotting in Psionic here just to gain another item, but we are going to be slamming that Edge of Night, so now we are pretty much committing to E. Not many users of that Edge of Night item at the moment. It's only really Riven at this point, and that you want to be really playing only from that Space Groove emblem. I'm just going to be slapping in the Rage Blade as we are going to be pairing that with Kindred. Not going to be playing exactly into any form of a Riven flex since we have that Marauder emblem, so our cap is generally going to be planning around playing a form of a 6 Marauder most likely for that endgame board. Slotting in the Psionic now to get the frontline item for ourselves. We can just use the Marauder emblems and a little bit of an extra shield, and going to transition our items to carry Urgot, but we still have that 2 Timebreaker in just to greet that little bit of extra econ since we rolled earlier on. Into what seems to be playing a Stargazer, that seems to be the mountain I would assume, but it's interesting to see how they're going to be approaching it. Are they going to be transitioning into that Space Groove Nami board right there? Now we are in need of some form of an econ, therefore Skull Parley seems quite appealing. Also leaves us the belt. Just quickly noting what our open components are, we could be slamming that Sunfire right away since we are spiking here on stage 3, trying to secure those placements. Cloak and Tear are interesting options as well, could complete some of our items. This comp also loves these cloak items. Unfortunately, we had given up on that Nunu pair there. That would have been a Nunu 2 for ourselves. But instead we opted to pick up, I believe it was Zaya? Let's see, yeah, it is Zaya, and Zaya could actually use those items quite well. Comkench makes a Victor 2 for ourselves, but unfortunately we do not have items for him. If we were playing in some form of an AP board, this would be very stable of a board to be playing around, but we are running this 4 brawler frontline at the moment. And there we can see the Echo's Patience, the Victor player right there with his drone. And let's see how we fare. Thankfully it's only a Victor 1. Hopefully this Pantheon is able to hold down the frontline and we are able to pick up another win. So we are starting to make some of that gold investment that we made back. Still finding a way how we can greed econ. Going to level aggressively here as we want to be closing out on the little bit of a win streak to carry over that extra gold, gain gold for winning, and the extra gold in our PvE round. Our slotting in that seems to be more of a generic Nova board, but obviously in our mind we are going to be looking for some form of a 6 Marauder board. Generally not a comp that most players would exactly be having. Now we have it there, and we are able to cash out, which seems to be a Gambler's Blade, which is going to be synergized nicely with that Rage Blade and going to be sorting out our econ situation even more so if we're able to just print a little bit of an extra gold through that Kindred right there. And find that Kindred early on right there, so going to be transitioning the items for him. And most likely going to be rolling hard on next turn, but we are not going to be exactly the richest of the bunch. Able to find that TG, which is nicely going to be slotting on the late game. I would imagine Fiora for now can't just be any of the Marauder units. This comp is quite good at utilizing form of a TG. Since we have quite a few of these Marauders, we can itemize into the Primordial Reroll player. Able to pick up a pretty crucial win, as unfortunately we did lose that round before the PvE. And for our last items augment selection, Jeweled Lotus is nice, but we have not committed exactly those crit items in form of QSS or Hodge right now, so going to be passing on that. Second Wind is a very strong combat option we could be taking, and it can be sorting out some of our sustain issues. Or we could be looking at Ascension as well, since it's proccing in 12 seconds a fight and we are playing a scaling carrier form of a Kindred. Going to see how he evaluates Duo Q. At this spot, we might be considering more form of Econ. We have that Tom Kench orb, probably should tab out and see what potentially this Tom Kench orb is going to be, as the orb is already decided, as Tom Kench snaps your board like a second or so after the round has, the new round has started. Yeah, so going to be picking up, and it's just going to be 3 gold for ourselves. Another bow, which would transition into either a Rage Blade, or we would be considering reforging that rod. Seems that he's just wanting to go for DOQ. We find an early Fiora and double sword, which is incredible for ourselves. Able to find that Yi early on. So I'd assume he was evaluating that he wanted simply more gold in order to try to spike his board quite hard right now. Able to find that Kindred too, should be quite stable. Just fishing here for that. Yeah, Town Kench or Yi. Do not exactly get there. Going to be going with a reforge on the one of the rod that we had, but have to be slamming a Death Blade right now, which is going to be fine. Not exactly the item that we would be wanting, but it has to do. We want to be securing our placements right now, and hopefully we're able to get ourselves to those 2-star forecasts. Also opted to slot in Graves, and we do not have an Akali, so we also are fishing for an Akali, I would imagine, in this spot. Able to find a Akali, able to find a Yi too, so now our board is quite online at this moment. Could be looking at transitioning the Psionic Emblem from the Tom Kench and having the Biomatter Preserver on him, as the Psionic Emblem just gives some generic stats, but we do not exactly have any form of upgraded carries right now. Fiora has that TG holding on, so this is going to be quite fine as well. Maokai labs that extra HP, and we're able to secure ourselves not an 8th by eliminating the player right here. And last god selection, we have already aligned ourselves with an Echo, so we have to keep in mind that we're going to be having that anomaly, and that's going to be a tank item as well. Another Edge of Night could be decent. We do not exactly have any form of another open component, and I do not exactly see what this extra tier could be transitioning to apart from something like the Hodge. An artifact item in 5 turns is going to be a completely random artifact. We also have an open tier, okay, we have an open tier, and we do not have Reforgers. This is something you could be considering if you have extra spare Reforgers, but we do not have those, and the artifact item could be a complete miss. Therefore, I would just be going with the safe choice of 2 components that we can hopefully transition into something. Picking up a 4th copy of a Kindred, could scout and see if Kindred perhaps is uncontested. Also, a backdoor Kindred 3 is a potential how we could be winning out this fight. Sorry, this game. Still on the poorer side, so going to be opting to sell it just to make the 10 gold right here. We have hit our... do not have that Tom Kench. Going to be transitioning off and having another Edge of Night onto that Fiora right there. So for that last tier slot, we're going to be most likely looking to complete an item on a E, and ideally we are going to be finding 3 components early on that we can utilize just to get these items carries online, and simply lose to the Space Groove Nami right there through. They seem to be having at least 3 emblems on their side, so they're going to be definitely quite strong. Tom Kench able to print himself a 2-star copy, and that's going to be quite nice for ourselves. We do not have the Shred and Sunder, so at this point, that's why we have this Aatrox right now. Going to be giving up on that Maokai, as we are running 3 Brawler at the moment in this variation, and simply want that Shred and Sunder is going to be provided more value for our board. So tagging in an Aatrox is something you can always be doing. Able to secure ourselves another win, so we've managed to win 4 out of 5 rounds on stage 4. That's going to be quite neat. Is this going to be a sufficient option for ourselves? It's going to be as a Hand of Justice, then it would be just a Spirit Visage. Going to be saying we are not exactly on the highest of gold, so we have to be making that. I do not exactly see ourselves making a blue buff right now, right? Yeah, Hand of Justice going right there, going that anomaly on the tank. Double Spirit Visage, so when the Psionic Emblem could just be utilized as a damage item. Instead, he opts to go with a Biomatter Preserver on the Fiora. That's an interesting choice. Obviously, having Sunfire there, just 3 item carry, is going to be quite fine. But this is a interesting Fiora build, to say the least. Scouting our opponents, trying to position on that weak side just to be able to run through them. Unfortunately, we run into a Ornn 3, So I'm not exactly sure if we're able to get through this, but this Yi is putting in quite a lot of work right now. Able to get on the backline, but this gets the Noctis, but still managed to preserve, has that enough survivability in us. This is why Age of Night is so crucial, and we're able to take out their damage and secure us a win right there. So we can definitely see this comp is quite real. It's quite good right there. So now we identified that the Psionic Emblem is going to provide a little bit more stats, able to put that on the Fiora right there. And we are quite secure to be making ourselves to level 9. And I would imagine that we are going to be trying to cap around a Shen, since we are running that Aatrox. Just having Bastion, having more durability on our resistances on our team is fine. Obviously, we have that bodyguard training, so a little bit of an overlap in that front, but attack speed buff is quite neat for ourselves. Also holding onto a Maokai has a potential for even more survivability on our team. Finding a Rammus, so yeah, definitely considering that Bastion pair right there, slotting that in. Seems not exactly pulling the trigger right now. And obviously Rammus is another option that can be holding the spare tank items that we have. So as we are going to be looking from this next armory a form of a damage item on a Fiora into a LeBlanc Karma board that has not exactly managed to cap out just yet. And we're still able to run through them. We can see the 6 Marauder, definitely a strong trait to be playing around if you're able to get there. Are we going to be taking this kind of just as a safe option? Yes, we are going to be doing so. And then find that Fiora to try to utilize the Strict to hopefully pop the Sunfire off. Unfortunately, did not get the gamble right there. That's alright, we have our spare removers to be tossing around. Unfortunately, our TG is stuck on an Urgot one, so now we are on the other side, on the weaker side of the Samira board. Let's see if we are able to also attack them from there. We're able to eliminate a lot of these units, do not exactly get the wrap. So how are we going to get stuck now onto this Tonk? And we do get stuck onto this Ornn with the Radiant item right there. So it seems that this is going to be a troublesome matchup for ourselves just due to the tankiness put in front of us. But we still have a lot of units to be hitting. These lower cost units always are meaningful to be hit. As their cast, a lot of the units value is going to be in the cast. Find that Shen right now, so going to be able to position to get the attack speed on our team. Just toss the tank and items on him, that's going to be quite fine. Into a Vex Fast 9 board that has not managed to find a Vex 2, but has pretty much rested their board, so let's see how we fare. Able to get through their front line quite efficiently, and this Fiora 2 is definitely putting in the work, and we're able to pick up a win against them, so now we should be, I believe, in a top 4. Yes, we are. Obviously a little bit enabled through this early Fiora 2, but that was purely enabled through our econ management on the stage for identifying that the board that we have is quite stable to be picking up rounds. Do not necessarily have to be staying on that level 9-8 to dig, as Tom Kench is able to play for that 2-star for 4-cost print. Secure that, and now we are able to start looking to cap out our board with upgraded 5 costs. Picking up another Edge of Night that's just going to be tossing on the Shen, so we have quite a lot of resets in our team just to be tossing around between the units. Into the very meta Nami Riven board, but thankfully, this is the thing that we should note right now. This is a little mispositioning on their side, and definitely you never want to be doing that. If a unit is able to walk, I'm even wondering, like, what exactly blocked this Riven right here from making that pathing? It seems to be her, oh yeah, it seems to be one of her own team units. But another trick that you can be doing as the actual Space Group player is by having a Blitzcrank being right here, and the melee carrier is going to attack there, and once the Blitzcrank goes into reset mode, they're going to have to walk all the way down. And due to that positioning mistake, we definitely had enough deep damage as the Riven was unable to provide the early burst and secure a win against that unit by ganking up on the Riven in the end. Now we have managed to secure a very decent HP lead, so we should be getting at least, I would believe, probably even a top 2 into this 2 tanky Samira board. Again, having trouble just getting through this Ornn, even though Shred and Sunder sorted out through Aatrox. It's quite tough, but we can see this Kindred's printing our goals. 27 gold through this Gambler's Blade, that's quite a lot to be working with, and it's enabled us to make it to perhaps level 10. Just slotting in the Sona for now. Getting that commander buff is quite sufficient ourselves. Is going to be quite fine. Could look for that extra ability through Morgana. I believe that's going to be a little bit stronger but this is going to be sufficient. Allows us to stay at 10 gold if we wanted to. Into Primordial reroll, this Town Kench with Anomaly is very tanky in itself, and we are able to just mow through them and pick up another win, and we are in the top 2. I believe that is the one of the other Fast 9 players, perhaps. For our last item, could be looking for some form of a Shen item. We do not have anti-heal sorted. I don't know if we have some anti-heal, we have the Sunfire. So not exactly the most appealing option. Still just going to be going with that red buff. Could have transitioned into the Shen. So now this is the Riven Nami board. Has that Radiant item on the Riven, and our GA gets popped immediately on the Shen. But we do make it to the backline as the Fiora and Yi. And we are going to be able to pick up a win through that. Just quickly taking a look at the positioning right here. Now, once this Edge of Night got popped, the Riven was forced to walk back and the Fiora had made it through, so we kind of bounced her damage between these units, and this Nami just did not have exactly enough of a damage. Since we have the durability provided through these Spirit Visages, we have the effective HP to Anomaly, and we have managed to cap our level 10 with the Bodyguard training, so we also have a lot of resistances on our team. They just simply do not have enough concentrated burst damage. Then we make it to the Nami on the backline through attacking even their strong side and able to close out a win. Very nicely played Spot, playing from a full open, trying to find the open line, going for that bailout through spending routes, and then making good use of our econ management. Once we're able to hit our uncontested forecasts and make it to level 10 to gain a maximum value of Bodyguard training, we are able to compete against a 2 Space Groove emblem Nami comp with 3 emblems in total and the group hug as well. Very well played game by Snoobydoo in displaying why he had deserved the pro circuit spot. I would like to thank you for watching. All the sheets are available in links down below. Let me know what you think, and I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.